Hey everybody, welcome to the West Dakota Dad. My name is Cody. This is my podcast where we talk about faith, family, and life. This is episode number 29 with Mother's Day. This episode is for all the moms out there. Whether that's your wife, the mother of your children, your mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, your aunts, your mother-in-law, those single moms out there, and every single mother who stepped up to the motherhood plate, whether that was through fostering, adoption, being a step-parent, whatever it is, if you're a mom, this one is for you. And in honor of Mother's Day, I am going to take you on a bit of a journey through my growing appreciation for Mother's Day. It all started back in 1991 when my mother chose life for me. Okay, we're not going to go back that far, but it's true. I'm here because of my mom wanting to have me as a child and choosing life for me. And that alone should be enough where I should be thanking her every single day that I take a breath. Anyways, we're going to actually go back to when my little brother came to this world to greet us. I said that like he's kind of an alien. Well, maybe he is. I'm just kidding. I was about 12 years old. I was excited to be a big brother. And so, therefore, it was a cold winter's morning when young 12-year-old Cody had awakened from his slumber and was going to run out to the living room to curl up next to his mom on the couch to tell her how much he loved and appreciated her, when he was blindsided by screaming and crying. So he came running out to the living room frantically, only to find his mom sitting on the couch. Perfectly content, of course, probably sipping on some tea or something. But her eyes fixated on the TV, and as young 12-year-old Cody turned to look at the TV, his eyes soon filled with terror as he noticed the sounds of screaming and crying were coming from the TV, and the horrific images and graphic images of a baby being born filled the screen. Young Cody was never the same after that. How's that for dramatic? So maybe not quite like that, but I do often remember my mom watching these videos on TLC, on some show, I don't even know if that's still around or not, of basically the journey of a mom having a baby. And I remember thinking to myself, I ain't never going to be ready for that. But I always had an appreciation for my mom because she made it to every single thing we were part of. She never, she always allowed us to try new things. And she never really wanted us to quit unless we gave it a longer time to try it out, okay? But she was always there. She always provided for us. She worked really hard. And even if it wasn't what I wanted to meet the standards of my teenage self, she still provided things for us. And it took me a while to appreciate that. It took me a lot of ways to appreciate that. But like I said, this is my journey through my growing appreciation of my mom and Mother's Day. But one thing I will say that I could never get around to is Mother's Day itself. I just could not get to the fact that we had to take a Sunday, one of my 2 days off, before I had to go back to the school work grind. I mean, that is my time off. And now we have to dedicate an entire day to do whatever my mom wants. The weather's nice, and chances are we were going to have to go for a road trip crammed in the van with my annoying little brother and sister. Ugh, that does not sound like fun to me. But we did it anyways. Even though I was kind of wondering, like, why isn't there a kids appreciation day? Like, what makes parents so special? Fast forwarding now, I'm married, and then I received news that I was going to be a dad. So I was going to be walking hand in hand with my wife through her entire pregnancy. And let me tell you, it was eye-opening. She handled everything like a trooper. I mean, I obviously could not do it. Thankfully, God allowed me not to be able to do it because I don't handle colds all that well. Anyways, she was a troop champion, whatever you want to call it. Good job, wife. But she, with the pregnancy, their body changes a little bit. Every now and then they have emotional breakdowns. You got a rush of hormones and stuff like that. You constantly see them in discomfort, even just trying to sleep at night. Sometimes it's painful. Whatever it is, you see that for a full 9 months. And then comes the time when our little girl was going to bless us with her presence. And I would watch my wife go through 20 plus hours of labor. Not going to get into the fine details, but just constantly uncomfortable. Like I said, she handled it excellent. I'm so proud of her, but just constantly uncomfortable, and there was pain. And by the time our daughter was ready to take her first breath, I just remember my wife's eyes were just filled with tears in pain. And then something magical happened. The moment she got to hold her for the first time, those tears instantly went from tears of pain to tears of joy. Never seen anything like it before. It was crazy. And then, of course, after a few hours, she's like, nah, it wasn't that bad. But it's interesting because Jesus actually had described that one moment perfectly in John chapter 16, verse 21. It will be like a woman suffering the pains of labor. When her child is born, her anguish gives way to joy because she has brought a new baby into the world. It's kind of a neat verse because it's spot on. I mean, it's a very short event that he's describing right there. But the interesting part about that verse is if you zoom out, the whole chapter that verse is a part of isn't actually about the process of a pregnancy. It is actually a descriptive example that he chose to use, describing what we would be feeling during his death, burial, and resurrection. I think that's incredible because he could have chose anything at all, what he wanted to describe that as, of the feelings that we'd be going through. And he chose something that only women can experience, only men can witness. That bond between a mother and son when sadness turns to joy. That's what he used. And it is spot on because I witnessed it for myself with my daughter being born. It was incredible. But that's not where it stops. I would be guilty and to think that after the baby's born, my wife would be back to normal, and the only difference would be is almost no sleep because we were constantly worrying and making sure our daughter was alive and well. But no, it doesn't stop there. I've heard this term known sometimes as the fourth trimester. It is the postpartum part of pregnancy. And, again, I'm not an expert here. I'm just going to take a little time out here. I'm not an expert here, but I'm kind of using this whole example of this journey of my growing appreciation. But this next little section here is all basically kind of me talking to my 12-year-old self of why I should really appreciate Mother's Day every single day. Anyways, play. So, it's the postpartum part. See, you took a woman's body goes through this change. It takes 9 months long of everything adjusting to basically make way for a baby. After the baby's born, things just don't go back to normal. Okay, it can take 9 months or even longer for everything to get balanced out and whatnot. I mean, there's so many things a woman goes through during that postpartum. I mean, they still have the emotional imbalances. I mean, I remember some certain times, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's natural. That's what happens. But I don't think it gets talked about enough the way it is. So therefore, I'm talking about it, and it's another reason why it shows the importance of what a woman really goes through with a pregnancy. It's not just 9 months. It can be like a year and a half to two years, or I don't even know how long it can possibly go for, but it could take that long to get back to the swing of things. And it's just incredible, you know. And not only that, but I also realize that there is a lot of women out there that can't necessarily have children for themselves. And so they might look into fostering, they might look into adoption, or maybe they stepped into a step-parent role. You know, just because you haven't had a child yourself does not mean you're any less of a mom. Now, don't get me wrong. For the ones that have had children, it's a phenomenal event. It is powerful. There's a huge bond connection, and it's a blessing for sure. But really, it's just the start if you think about it. I mean, there's so much more to motherhood after a baby's born. I mean, it's those sleepless nights that you awaken from still tired when you were worrying about if everything was okay. It is getting the kids ready for school or daycare in the morning, also while getting yourself ready for work if you go to work. It is constantly cleaning up after these little messy mess makers. It is the not taking to heart these unappreciative moments because you do everything, you try to guide them and teach them everything, but sometimes you just don't get recognition back. Sometimes you get retaliation back. And there's so many things that a mother just does: teach, guide, protect, raise, whatever it is. There's so many things that a mother goes through, and then we grant them 1 day a year to show appreciation. That's not right. It should be an every single day thing. And that's what I would love to be able to tell my 12-year-old self, or even at a younger age. And I mean, of course, now I made motherhood sound like a complete drag, but there are those times that you get, and I can kind of attest to this too, that you get when your child giggles for the first time, or when they get excited after their first steps, or they go potty in the pot for the first time and they turn around looking for you saying yay, and they're looking for your approval, and you're just so excited of these just little moments that are major steps for them in their development. Or even when they get older and you go to their graduation and they're looking for you up in the crowd. It's those moments that just, they're immeasurable amounts of happiness and joy. And they make everything completely worth it. That's what motherhood is. It's a lifelong journey of watching these monumental events, no matter how small they might seem. They impact a child's life for their entire lives. And that's really what being a mom's all about. There's so many things that they do for us that we just don't even realize. That's what I would like to tell my 12-year-old self. The reasons why we celebrate Mother's Day. Now, if we turn to Proverbs chapter 31, and we look at verse 28. Oh, getting there. It says, "Her children stand and bless her. Her husband praises her." It should be an everyday thing. It should be an every single day thing. So this one is another episode in the books. Happy Mother's Day. I hope everyone was able to enjoy Mother's Day, and whether that was being with your mom, talking to your mom, or anybody else, or even remembering your mom. So, till next time, I'm the West Dakota Dad. Thank you so much for listening. Happy Mother's Day. Thanks for listening to the West Dakota Dad podcast. If you like what you heard, please drop a rating, share with your friends, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any content.